And welcome in again to another edition of the BIS podcast, always broadcasting on the Marvin Network. Josh Green here with you, and we have, again, we always say that our guests are special here on the podcast, and I don't know about these two guys. I guess they're somewhat special, but I guess, technically they're the owners of the company. But we welcome in again Britt Martin and Brandon Kay. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Doing good this morning. Yeah, my mom always said I was special.
You are always special? What about you, Brandon?
Yeah, same. I was the best.
All right. Well, again, guys, thank y'all for joining us here again on the podcast. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about leadership. Now, one of the things that I know y'all two like doing here at BIS, and we actually as employees don't get to do this as much. But let's start with Britt. What's the mission of BIS, Britt?
Well, I think you're trying to stump me over here, Josh, but we definitely, everybody here, the great thing is once you start at BIS, we try to challenge you and you get a $50 gift card to learn the mission statement. So I'm hoping all employees know that this is simplify our clients' IT needs through old school customer service with ambition of improving technology in every area of government. So it's great to see where we're going and what we're about. So that's our mission at BIS.
All right, that's one for one. So we're going to go next to Brandon Kay. Brandon, can you tell us the vision?
Oh God, you stumped me. Is it to make local government interactions seamless and transparent with modern, up-to-date processes, regardless of budget and size?
Ding, ding, ding. All the way 100%. All right. So that's, again, the mission and the vision here at BIS, and something we like to, tell our employees or talk about it, but also that we try to, give towards the client to let them know really what we do here at BIS. And then we also have core values that we value here at BIS. So, guys, I'm going to start off. Who's got the values?
You want to start off, Brendan?
Sure. I'll say maybe the community.
All right.
The other ones are venturous, faith.
Servitude, grit.
And I'll finish off the humble. And then what's the last one, Josh, if you know it?
Entrepreneurial spirit.
All
nice.
Right.
Sweet. All right. Nice. Well, now we covered all
teamwork.
That basis. Now, do I get the gift card?
Yes.
You do. You do.
Sweet. All right. But tag it on. Put it on my next paycheck. We'll just do it like that.
It's a $50 Amazon gift card, but Brandon already spent $38.22 of it, but you get the rest.
Okay, let me see what I can get for $12 on Amazon. I bet I can find something. All right, guys. Well, in today's podcast, again, we're talking about leadership. Now, we've gone over the mission, the vision, core values here at BIS. So one of the things about, being a leader is setting a vision. So, Brandon, I'm going to start with you. We talk about leadership always, and you're one of the big key components on that in making not employees here at BIS, but leaders. And you kind of value that a lot. So kind of tell me about, first off, setting a vision and what it means to be a leader.
Well, I think for so long, Britt and I might have ran the company wrong, right? We were just two hard workers that we just got in the field and we worked in the company, and we never slowed down until about maybe 8 years ago and figured out that we need to work on the company, work on ourselves, and set a vision so people can follow a vision. And it really hasn't been the last 4 years that now we make all the team members cite the mission, the vision, the core values, and I got goosebumps actually the last quarterly meetings. Everybody said the mission like on point together, and it was the coolest thing to experience. 40 people come together and have that synergy and say the mission. It was really cool, especially for all the hard work and trials and just stuff Britt and I have been through over the years. But I think once you have your mission, your vision, your core values, the other thing we recently have done in the last 4 years is set 3 company objectives. So we've decided, okay, as a company, here's 3 things that we're going to work on. And it's helped. In the last 3 years, we have gone from everybody kind of doing their own thing to every department, every team member kind of heading down the same path with the 3 objectives that BIS is looking for. So for me, that once you've decide on your mission statement, having a vision that aligns with it, and then also a strategy. We don't talk about strategy, but it's how you're going to accomplish the vision. And anyway, so to me, that's the beginning parts of having a solid leadership.
Yes, sir. Well, then it comes in again. We're talking about next making decisions. I'll go to this one and you, Brandon. Brandon kind of touched on it a little bit. Y'all kind of slowed down a little bit about 8 years ago. Again, y'all kind of in a rush, just kind of starting things. Where did it kind of make you feel comfortable in the past years of making decisions like these going forward?
Yeah, I think the hardest part of making a decision is this in a timely manner. You have to make that within the time of the alignment with where you're going, and make sure it benefits the goals and benefit of the team. And so a lot of times it's just getting 80% of the facts. You don't have to have 100%. It's like, all right, getting 80% of the facts, work fast, move, don't do what they call analysis paralysis. Sit there and just decide, overthink of where you're going. And I see so many people do that. And me and Brandon at the beginning did that. And woulda, shoulda, coulda. You sit there and you analyze everything, and then you end up doing nothing. So I think that's a good. We're a fast moving company, and I think that's probably one of mine and Brandon's strength is we do make a decision. We make it. Sometimes we're wrong. Maybe a lot of times we're wrong, but we learn to make the decision. You change course, make another decision, change course. And I think it's making a decision fast, and and also realizing it affects the team. So that's the hardest thing. If you want to make sure it just affects the team and how it's going to affect the whole group, not just me or not just Brandon. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Gotcha. Well, then one of the big steps in that is, communicating effectively. And I know y'all are really big communicators when it comes to y'all's marriages, right?
No comment.
What'd you say?
I said,
Huh?
Translating that over to the work vibe and, talking about one of the big things is communicating. And really what I think we do here at BIS well is communicating with one another. So where do y'all kind of seen with that kind of growing in the company?
Yeah. So, my biggest thing here at BIS is that, under promise and over deliver. But I've seen it in leadership here where people don't over communicate and they don't set clear expectations, and it frustrates team members. It frustrates clients, more importantly. But I think one thing that I'd say 99% of everybody that works at BIS, at least today, is that they do a great job of communicating and setting those clear expectations. It's a pet peeve of mine, but it doesn't take much to send an extra email or call a client and say, hey, here's where we're at with this. Here's what to expect. And so for me, I think having that and providing feedback and promoting open and transparent communication. Here at BIS, we have about 40 team members, and there's what's called a weekly report every Friday. The team members can share what their stress level is for the week. I'm actually looking at it right now. How was their morale on a scale of 1 to 5? What was the workload on a scale of 1 to 5? And what it does is tells me departmentally, individually, what their life is like that week. It kind of groups it up by department as well. They can also share anything else they want personally going on. And what I've liked about that communication is it gives me insights into people's personal lives on maybe why they acted or didn't act a certain way one week. And it's been amazing because then I can determine why and people are maybe acting or doing certain things. So to me, that's been very helpful as well. But we've really enjoyed that communication.
And one thing, before we move on, I do want to touch on that because I think that is a really good idea, that weekly report. And I think it's really, commendable of y'all to allow people or allow employees to mention personal stuff if they want to. But also, like you said, it gives people a personal vibe, and it's a way for y'all to kind of keep connected with everybody.
Yeah, we love it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good thing. And the next part we're going to move on to now is delegating tasks. I'm going to throw this one back at it, Britt. And I know we've had some, structural changes here at BIS, so this kind of brings it up a little bit. When did y'all feel comfortable, or how is it that you get to be able to delegate tasks going from the top down?
Well, I'm going to delegate that back to you, Josh, and let you answer that question.
Well, I think if I would to delegate to myself, then I had to delegate back up to the top. So I throw it back to you.
No, I think that's one thing. It's the hardest thing as a leader is to delegate, because if you do it yourself, I can trust myself. I know I'm going to get it done exactly how I want. And same, I think with Brandon and all the other team members, it's like, all right, we know we can do it. The hardest thing is, all right, trusting that task to somebody and delegating based on their strengths and providing support and as you delegate to them. But I think that is one of the hardest things as a leader to learn. But if I don't delegate, then the people underneath me are not going to grow. They're not going to learn, and I can't grow and learn and work on higher level pieces of the company. So delegation is just such an important. And if you delegate to someone that's competent and has integrity, and a lot of times people will shine, people will amaze you of where they can go, and you take that cap off of them and just to kind of move out of the way. So I think, again, it's one of the hardest things to do as a leader, but it's learning to delegate and get out of the way. And that way it frees you up to do other pieces of the business and work on the business.
Yep.
Awesome, guys.
Yep.
Well, for moving from delegating tasks now, what is the big thing when you want to try and empower others? I'm gonna throw this one back to you, Brandon. When you try to empower somebody to lead them, how do you kind of make them follow the goal that you want to get to yourself, but also for them to get to the goals they want to?
Yeah, well, I mean, no one likes to be micromanaged. However, like Britt said, if you can't delegate to someone that's competent and has integrity, then you have to micromanage them. And that's not the type of company we want to build. We want to build a company where everybody is their own leader. So again, self-growth coming from within. You're trying to be a better person, and if you do struggle with something, you just bring it up to your leadership team. Hey, you're asking me to do this. This is not my expertise. I'm good here, here, and here. Here's where I need help. And to me, that's a true that's empowering people, right? Because we do want to encourage autonomy. I want you to make decisions based on what's given. We want to foster collaboration and enable the team members to grow and excel. I every day, we have a monthly podcast that we ask our leaders, and that's everybody. Everybody's a leader. You're a leader of yourself, even if you're new to the company. For instance, Jay just started. I expect him to lead himself. I expect him to listen to the podcast and see how he can grow as an individual, because unless you grow internally, there's no way you're going to grow externally. And so I think that it's just something you build with your leader. You see how they're doing. You have a back and forth. We have one-on-one meetings where we listen to it's 30 minutes for the team member to tell them what's going on, what's working, what's not working. And so for me, I think we've created a very open collaboration between team members and leaders here at BIS.
And definitely, and one of the things, it's an old saying, but you always want to lead by example. So, Britt, what's the best way that, you've learned personally in growing the company here at BIS? What's the best way how to lead by example?
Yeah, I think it's just, you definitely have to demonstrate integrity, professionalism, a strong work ethic. But I mean, there's been many times I've done something and I'm like, I'll go back very critical of myself. I'm like, I could have done that better. And I think that's, as a leader, you always reflect and can do stuff better. But example is, just whatever I'll ask of you guys, I would do myself too. And me and Brandon are very big on learning, like listening to books, reading, and just making sure we're growing and learning and pushing that down to you guys. And also remove barriers from our team. We're just going to make sure we're being an example of removing any barriers from our team for you guys, and that you're doing it for the people underneath you. And also just knowing that we're pushing y'all. We don't pull. We're there to help guide and mentor, and we're doing the same of having a guide and a mentor along the way.
It's a good thing, the different, examples you gave there. But now I'm going to throw it back at Brandon. One of the big things when it becomes a leader is, everything sort of happens at once. There's going to be days where there's problems out the wazoo. No one really knows what to do. So how do you kind of, Brandon, work through as a leader, working through the problem solving process?
I've seen it over and over at BIS where you get a leader in, and they're new, or they're new to leadership, and they don't want to appear weak, or they don't have the answers because you've got them into leadership and they have to have all the answers, and that's not reality, right? But what I've found is I've had to, number one, have one-on-one meetings, close the door and kind of, hey, what's going on? And then you go, and then they won't tell you, no, what's going on? They won't tell you, well, no, what's going on? I can sense it. I can feel it. I know. And sure enough, I mean, I'm probably 8 for 10 on digging things that are bothering people with whether it's structure or someone else not working or a hard conversation. Because as leaders, I don't feel like if we have yes men at BIS, we have the wrong men. And what I mean by that is I don't want someone in that BIS just says, yeah, you're right. No, the conversation's a dialogue back and forth. I know we're not always right. However, I'm going to argue my point, right? I have 15 years here at BIS, but we're always looking ways to improve and make things better. So I think problem solving can be successful when you have leaders willing to put the guard down and the team members trust that they're not going to get fired for disagreeing with the leader. And but I've seen where I've had to pull answers out of people that I knew something was going on. And recently with TNT, there was some internal workflow issues that we had. And I'm like, what's up? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And we figured that out. And because of communication and the weekly report, we were able to change the dynamics in development because of leaders speaking up. So problem solving is, a two-way street. It's got to be back and forth. Can't always be the leader trying to solve the problems, and it can't be the worker trying to always make the leader happy. So for me, seeing it, for the last 15 years, it's really been just pulling it out of people and having an open kind of dialogue with team members.
Yes, sir. And I'm going to stick with that just before we move on to the next question. When you talk about that, Brandon, have you learned in the last, 15 years or so as you've been doing this, when have you learned to kind of, as you said, kind of pull information a little bit when you know something is wrong, but when do you kind of learn, not to push? So how do you kind of manage that, push-pull for future leaders out there when it comes to those situations?
It goes back to the competence and integrity. I've been on conference meetings with the dev teams in general, and I'm not afraid to voice my opinion. Yeah, no, we'll all laugh at that. When I want to improve a process or a system, or lack of communication or lack of expectation, right? So if you're not doing it to my high level of standard, I'm going to question your ability. Now, once I get someone in charge and I see that they're taking initiative, they're communicating with the clients the way I would, they're setting the expectation with the client like I would, and they're doing the things, I'll sit back and I'll be quiet, which is a surprise. So I'll take a back seat, but I'll challenge you and I'll push you to make sure that you are maximizing who you are as an individual, because we all get complacent, right? We all want to, we leave home, we go to drive into work, we work 8 hours a day, and then we go home and we do the thing over and over and over. But again, how are you growing? Well, growth comes from problems and challenges. And I think you have to fall in love with the system, the process of being at BIS. And if you love the industry like Britt and I do, I don't think it's work. I mean, you have to work somewhere, right? But I think it comes down to not, if you're going to improve yourself, right? So you're looking and working, going, okay, hey, I'm not the best communicator. Like for me, I'm not really that organized. However, I'm the visionary. I need what we call an integrator. So what Britt and I've learned really is that we needed people underneath us that can take chaos and put it together. But we didn't know that then. We had too many visionaries, or we had too many integrators, what the case may be by department. And I think it's learning that too. So it's a lot. It really is, and it's taken years, I think, for us to realize, oh, that's what we needed to do. So, but it's awareness, and it's honestly just having hard conversations and not being afraid to get your feelings hurt because, someone said, hey, you're not that organized. Okay, cool, I get it. But this person is. We'll team up and you work together so you're more successful. So it's a long story, but it's really, that's what it's been over the last 15 years.
I got you. And one part of your answer I want to touch on right quick now. I didn't know this, but we're supposed to work 8 hours a day.
Oh,
No.
at least 5.
At least 5.
Yeah.
I thought it was 3.
Shoot, man. You are in marketing, so I mean,
Oh, that's
I get
true.
it.
Yeah.
I've heard marketing people work 3 hours a day.
Oh, let's hope Britt don't hear that. But as we're wrapping it up, guys, one of the last things I want to talk about is support development. Now, I'm gonna throw this one to you, Britt. Being supporting for everybody again. Nurturing people. Getting them to where they need to be. But I'm gonna ask you this in a two-parter again. How do you kind of work support development in supporting people, and when is the best time, or in your experience, when do you feel like it's time to let go and for them to kind of be on their own, knowing that they can do what you want them to do?
Yeah, and that's a hard one because I think a lot of it is you have to guide them and provide the development for the team member and to kind of foster a culture of continuous learning along the way for the employees. But you're right. There's a certain point that you have to want it yourself. Me and Brandon can want it for you as much as possible, but you're going to eventually have to want it for yourself. As the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. At the end of the day, like Brandon said, you're going to have self-growth. You have to have self-initiative, self-starter to kind of be that. But we'll try to nurture and grow and provide leadership, provide direction, provide a good place to work, even if it is 8 hours, but provide that for each individual. And so, but there's a certain point you kind of have to all right, this is what I taught you. Now you have to be that self-starter and driven employee.
Awesome, guys. Well, we're just about out of time here on today's episode. So anything that y'all like to mention before we kind of sign off on things?
No, I really don't have anything else to add personally.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was good. As always, talking to you, Josh.
It's always glad talking to you guys. Again, we thank y'all for, first off, kind of creating the process of doing the podcast, but also kind of explaining what a leader needs to be. And I think it's going to be great, not just for the employees here at BIS, but for all those listening out there who may want to start a business, who are working right now and getting up the corporate ladder. So I think this is going to be very instrumental and very informational for them. So again, guys, I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, and if anybody does listen to this, one thing Britt and I have used over the years is podcast, business or not, right? I mean, again, you're leading yourself, is Entree Leadership. It's Dave Ramsey's business section where it's not finances, it's just strictly growing businesses. But the principle, even if you're a government sector and if it's private or not, it can help leaders. So if anybody's looking for a resource, Entree Leadership, maybe we'll put it in the notes when we post, Josh, if we could. That's one main podcast we've listened to, and it's a variety of people that talks about self-development, leadership, meetings, mission, vision, core values. So it covers everything that Britt and I have learned over the last at least 8 years. So if anybody needs any material, Entree Leadership, Dave Ramsey's organization, bunch of good stuff there.
You heard the man. He knows what he's talking about. So does his partner. So again, guys, we do appreciate it. Again, you've been listening to the newest edition of the BIS podcast. Again, broadcasting live on the Marvin Network. We've been talking leadership with the co-owners, Britt Martin and Brandon Kay. Thank you all for joining in today. And until next time, so long and goodbye.